From bars that serve terrible beer to another where the owners usually get physical. Here's what happened to the bars that ignored Jon Taffer's advice, starting with Second Base. Second Base Bar and Grill in Orange, California is one of those rare cases where a bar gets not one, but two chances from Jon Taffer, and they still managed to fumble both. Originally known as Extremes, the bar got its first rescue from Season 2 and actually showed promise. The bar called itself a sports bar, but looked nothing like one.
I'll buy him shots. That's for my friends.
Terry will just drink and drink and drink to where it encourages drinking.
And the hygiene was also terribly bad.
Oh, it stinks in here. It's hard to be in here. It smells so bad.
But Jon stepped in, cleaned up the operation, fixed the systems, and built a proper sports bar identity. For a moment, it actually worked, as sales jumped by as much as 20 to 30%, proving that the formula was solid. But that success didn't last, because the one thing Jon couldn't fix long-term was the owner, who quickly ran the bar downhill as he kept drinking and giving drinks away. As if that wasn't enough, a fatal shooting in the bar's parking lot in November 2013 took the bar further downhill. So by the time Jon returned for a second rescue in Season 4, the place had become a total mess. The systems Jon put in were gone, the menu had disappeared, and cleanliness was once again a major issue. And Jon, he was furious.
Yeah. And the only success you had, I gave to you, and now I take it away.
Is this your version of success? Bye.
At the center of it all was Terry, the owner. Despite making money after the first rescue, he put nothing back into the bar and let the whole operation slowly fall apart. Jon offered a second lifeline, a $100,000 renovation, with him covering most of the cost. All Terry had to do was contribute $30,000 to show that he was serious about saving his own business, but his response was simply shocking.
And write you a check. But it won't be any good.
So you can't.
I don't have the money.
Do you believe that he can't come up with this money?
No.
He just won't.
That moment became the turning point. As expected, Jon was done trying to help this bar.
Let's get out of here, guys. It's over. Because I don't trust you. Because you are a slime bucket. One of the best concepts I've ever done, and he totally it up.
If I had the money, I would do it.
Let's go, guys. If you ran your bar right, you would have had the money.
Instead of following Jon's advice about structure, cleanliness, and professionalism, Second Base preferred to lean heavily into the bikini bar concept, a concept that didn't appeal to many customers. The bikini concept wasn't the only thing the bar didn't let go of, though. The bar's hygiene also remained terrible, with one customer complaining that the bar smelled so much that you could pick the odor even from outside. In 2024, the bar was even temporarily closed for a rodent infestation, but was reopened after getting cleared. The menu never got better either, as it looked visually unappealing. On Yelp, the bar was at an embarrassing 2.5-star rating, and on Google, the 3.4-star rating wasn't so great either. And in February 2025, the bar finally closed for good. No surprise there, actually. The real shock is how the bar even managed to stay open for that long. While the owners of Second Base were stubborn, they were nothing compared to the Rock's bar's owner. Featured in Season 2, Rock's in Laguna Niguel was a cigar bar that had already proven it could work. At its peak, owner Scott Terhagen was pulling in $50,000 a month, largely thanks to a legal loophole that allowed indoor smoking back then. But in 2009, California's smoking laws caught up with them, and the bar's biggest advantage vanished overnight. The bar became a concept stuck in an identity crisis, a cigar room that didn't allow any smoking. What followed was a slow drift into irrelevance, as the bar lost most of its customers and became a space dominated by regulars and staff friends, who created an unwelcoming atmosphere that pushed new customers away. By the time Jon arrived, the bar was losing $2,000 a month. It sat near a college campus and somehow still couldn't attract a single young customer. Instead, it became more of a bar for older folk, who found a way to make the younger population feel awkward.
Just rolled in, so best looking girl in Redmond, Rocks, you see 7 years.
The hygiene in the bar was also terribly poor, and the place looked like an abandoned building. The bartenders were also untrained and basically did whatever they felt was okay. Things like leaving saran wraps on bottle tops just because they were too lazy to take them off each day.
Bars are about the customers, not you. Does this look good for customers? No, it isn't. But it's convenient for you, right?
But Jon was willing to rescue the bar, and his strategy was to take out the old identity and rebuild the bar into something aligned with its surroundings. A high-energy nightclub called Power Plant, designed to attract the younger population it had been ignoring. The layout was open to improve flow. The DJ booth was repositioned to drive energy, and systems like turbo taps were introduced to increase efficiency. 6 weeks later, the numbers showed progress as sales were up by 20%. But after the cameras left, the bar went into full reverse mode. And it started with Scott changing the name back from Power Plant to Rocks, rejecting the very identity that had been built to reposition the bar. Along with the name, other changes were rolled back. The bar reopened during the day, despite clear evidence that daytime operations were unprofitable. The focus shifted away from the nightclub model that had started to generate momentum and back toward a version of the business that had already failed. By November 2014, just around 2 years after the episode aired, Rocks closed its doors for good. While Rocks struggled with having a clear identity, the next bar, Gypsy, certainly didn't. In fact, it had a rather interesting concept, but the end was, well, let's find out. This Bar Rescue Season 3 bar opened in 1993 as the first gay nightclub in Las Vegas, Nevada, so it had quite a reputation. Back then, it was making as much as $160,000. But by the end of that decade, more gay nightclubs had started losing. So $15,000 monthly. And its owner, Paul Sanfilippo, who owned another bar called Piranha, found himself in insurmountable debt, making him drink more often, disappear a whole lot more,
He would disappear for 3 or 4 days.
Disappear for a week, come in and try and fix the problem.
and become more hostile towards his staff.
Or wait. Or am I sending your paycheck?
And when times get a little too tough,
You suck, bitches.
But when Jon showed up to help, Paul wasn't interested in being helped, but apparently his struggles weren't enough reason for him to humble himself and accept Jon's advice. At Jon's first meeting with him, Paul was very drunk, very defensive, and very confrontational.
Get in the cab and go home, jerk. Okay, give me drink. I'll go home tomorrow.
But after Paul had apologized at the next meeting, Jon stepped in to clean up operations, retrain staff, and rebrand the space into something more modern. The bar was renamed SBLV Ultra Lounge, SBLV being an acronym for South Beach, Las Vegas, and it got a full aesthetic overhaul, updated systems, and a new concept designed to keep entertainment flowing without killing drink sales. Everyone was happy except Paul.
It's horrible. It's absolutely horrible.
Regardless of Paul's ungrateful behavior, the relaunch was a success. But that success was short-lived, and the reason ties directly to the one problem the show couldn't fix: the owner. Within just a few days, Paul returned, shut the bar down entirely, and relocated his staff to his other bar. Although he intended to reopen the bar as something new about a year later, he couldn't quite get the remodeling completed due to permitting and contractor issues. Even after the old Gypsy building got bulldozed in 2020, Paul still had intentions for a rebuild, as he pointed out to Las Vegas Spectrum in an interview saying, "I have a passion for this business, and I'm not sparing any expense." For a moment, it seemed like Gypsy Bar would actually be rebuilt, but before Paul's plans could take shape, tragedy struck as he unfortunately passed away in April 2022. Like Gypsy, much of Dirty Rooster's problems started with its owners, except this time, the problem wasn't one owner, it was 3. Dirty Rooster was a bar in Antioch, Illinois, featured in Season 4 of Bar Rescue. The bar's issues mostly stemmed from intense bad blood between its owners. Former best friends Rob Hoffman and Steve Malman initially opened the bar in 2013, investing $40,000 of their own money into the bar before bringing Scott Lopez into the mix. The problems in the bar's leadership were so bad that things started to get physical, but the ownership drama was only half the problem, as Rob's personal behavior was destroying the bar from the inside. He had a terrible habit of getting himself drunk in the bar. When Rob got wasted, he'd start giving drinks away for free. So the first thing Jon had to do was deal with Rob directly.
You can't act like you do. There's a fiduciary responsibility when you take a man's money. That's America. Now you're the silent partner. Welcome to the world of business.
Jon then went on to transform the space into Lake Maria Lodge and made it feel like a proper lakeside destination. But more importantly, he tried to fix the structure behind the business. He also addressed the pricing issues and the lack of inventory control.
Now, we got 2 prevention POS systems. How cool is that?
That's awesome.
So, you guys like the bar?
Love it.
And yet, almost immediately after the show, the owners reverted. The first major sign was abandoning the new identity and going back to the Dirty Rooster name. And then there was Rob, who went right back to his old habits the moment the cameras left. The relationship between the owners also continued to deteriorate. Instead of establishing clear leadership and accountability, the same power struggle remained, especially between Rob and investor Scott. That tension eventually escalated into legal action, with Scott filing a lawsuit for $125,000 against both the business and Rob personally. On top of that, the financial consequences of Rob giving away free drinks triggered tax issues from the state. Customer experience also never truly improved. Reviews after the rescue still describe the same issues: poor service, untrained staff, and the bar was living up to the prefix in its name. And in the end, the bar closed in late 2015, barely a year after the episode aired, as Rob sold everything. The location was later occupied by a fishing shop named Musky Tails. The Dirty Rooster's owners couldn't keep their hands off the free drinks. Mary's Outpost Bar's owner couldn't keep his hands off a lot more than that. Mary's Outpost Bar from season 3 was deeply rooted in bad behavior. Bill, who co-owned the bar with Kimmy, treated the bar less like a business and more like a personal party house.
Your classic business. This is mine and Joe's party house.
Party house.
Yeah. Truth be said, at some time in the office, y'all would be topless.
Wow.
That's the owner of this bar.
Openly flirting with customers, drinking on the job, and even crossing serious lines by inviting women into the back office and making inappropriate demands.
Not gonna do that?
This is my office. Damn it, get that top off.
Did he just say that?
Meanwhile, the bar itself was filthy, disorganized, and running without even the most basic systems, like a POS. But the food was far worse. To rescue this bar, Jon had to attack both sides of the problem. He forced accountability onto Bill and put Kimmy in charge of day-to-day operations. Then he cleaned the place up, installed proper systems, and built a concept designed to attract a more stable crowd. The bar was renamed Thirsty's Roadside Bar, redesigned from the ground up to ditch the smoky dive bar image and feel like a place people would actually want to bring their friends. And at least initially, it worked perfectly. Food sales improved, service tightened up, and Bill appeared to make an effort to behave more professionally. One of the first major signs of resistance was the decision to drop the Thirsty's Roadside Bar name and revert to Mary's Outpost. But from customer reviews, it was clear that it wasn't just the name that was reverted. The bar as a whole had gone back to what it looked like before the rescue. Even so, not every change was dismissed. Some customers still appreciated features like the pool games and the karaoke nights. So even though the bar ditched many of Jon's key changes, it still managed to hold its ground in a way most others didn't. It kept a steady stream of customers engaged and maintained a respectable 3.1 star rating on Yelp, standing out as one of the few bars in bar rescue history that actually stayed open despite resisting the rescue plan. While Mary's Outpost managed to stay afloat despite pushing back on major changes, the next bar tells a very different story. When Bar Rescue stepped into Marley's on the beach in Warwick season 3, it looked like a business sitting on a gold mine and somehow still drowning. A beachfront location, steady tourist traffic, and built-in sunset appeal that should have made success inevitable. Instead, the bar was bleeding over $4,000 monthly and buried in debt. Owned by a couple, Kevin and Michelle, the failing bar was draining their bank account and their marriage at the same time.
My husband and I were fighting like crazy. I felt like he got me into this. One day I said, I'm going to strangle you.
By the time Jon Taffer arrived, the couple was over $200,000 in debt, and Kevin's behavior wasn't helping the situation at all.
Do you spend a lot of time there, Kevin? Do you get to look at these kinds of things?
I don't know.
How come?
Children, take care of the house.
Well, that's not entirely the way it is. He lost total interest in it. There were nights when he'd be home with his buddies just drinking while I was working.
There was also a lack of teamwork amongst the staff, as the assistant manager and the cook never got along.
You guys all right? I hear you.
But beyond the bad blood, the bar was also doing very poorly in its operations. Jon sent in 200 customers to see how the staff would fare, and some of those customers had to wait for up to an hour to get any service. And so the rescue itself had to follow a familiar arc that exposes the chaos and rebuilds the systems. Part of that rebuild meant Kevin, who had become an absent husband owner, had to be kicked out of daily operations.
Do you like it when he's here?
No. When you're here, I'm stressed. I'm not myself. I want him to be a silent partner.
While Michelle stepped fully into control, and the assistant manager, who dragged the team back and never got along with the cook, had to be fired.
Elise, you looked at me and said it's her or you. Tonight, the entire thing fell apart, and it was your fault. You're a disorganized mess. You can't lead anybody. You're gonna fire her.
Sorry, you're fired.
This place.
Jon had the staff retrained, brought in a new manager with a whole lot more experience, and transformed the bar from the confused beach shack energy into St. Michelle's Beach Club, a dual-concept venue designed to monetize both sides of its environment: relaxed, sunset-driven afternoons for older guests and a vibrant, music-fueled nightlife for younger crowds. Early signs suggested that it worked. Within 6 weeks, sales were reportedly up more than 30%. On paper, it looked like a textbook turnaround, but that momentum didn't last. Almost immediately after the cameras left, the owners changed the name. The owners chose to scrap the name meant to signal a fresh start and elevated branding, opting instead for a compromise: Marley's Beach Club. At first, that didn't really seem like a bad thing, but the Yelp review suggested that the bar had gone back to its old ways. One customer complained that she and her husband were ignored when they got into the bar for a long 10 minutes, while staff who were obviously not busy kept walking past them. While the renovation had improved aesthetics, fire pits, upgraded furniture, and a more inviting outdoor space, the experience never really changed much. Even the food and drinks were way below impressive, as one customer pointed out on Yelp. Unsurprisingly, Marley's shut its doors in November 2013, just a few months after the episode aired. Iggy's Boardwalk, the lobster and clam bar next door, took over the space. Even though the new manager Jon installed at Marley's was from Iggy's bar, he alone could not help a bar that was never ready to be helped. While Marley's was a typical failing bar, Country Nights from season 6 tilted more towards a party house, a failing one of course. Owned by Dahlia Denmore, a veteran who had opened 7 bars in 15 years, the place had experience behind it, but no control. What should have been a business was instead driven by Dahlia's personality, and that personality leaned heavily into partying and inappropriate behavior.
She has nice tits. I just, you know what? I don't care. I'm 54 years old and I'm fabulous.
She drinks with customers, dances on the bar, hands out shots in wildly unprofessional ways, and blurs every possible boundary between owner and entertainer.
Who wants a shot of this?
The staff followed her lead. There's no structure, no discipline, and no sense that anyone's actually in charge. Jon quickly identified that the issue wasn't really the concept, it's Dahlia's behavior, and he tried to talk some sense into her.
It isn't about your boobs anymore. It's about them and this business.
Yes, sir.
He needed Dahlia to set rules and hold staff accountable. Staff like Melissa, for example, who was failing woefully at her job.
Everything back where you pick it up. You're making a mess. Everything goes back in its place so that it's there when you reach for it.
Because Dahlia treated her like a friend instead of an employee, which meant Melissa felt comfortable saying whatever she wanted.
You better not be drinking those, Melissa. No more drinking. Don't tell me to drink, so I'll take both of these shots.
So Jon forced Dahlia into the hardest decision of the rescue.
No, it is the right decision.
So, good luck.
With that problem behind them, Jon and his team retrained the staff, set up proper inventory systems and a cleaner operational structure, and rebranded the bar as Madame Dahlia's Country Bar. The new concept leaned into Dahlia's personality, but in a controlled, marketable way rather than unchecked chaos, and it worked as sales went up. But the shift doesn't fully stick. Dahlia slowly moved away from the name change and removing the Madame from the name. But instead of settling on one name, the bar spirals into a naming crisis. Its Yelp and Facebook pages use the name Country Nights, while in some other places it goes by Dahlia's Country Nights. From the reviews, you can tell that the name wasn't the only thing that reverted right back after Jon left. While the bar remains open, customers describe inconsistent service, long wait times, and being ignored altogether. Others point out maintenance issues like broken fixtures, lack of supplies, and a general decline in upkeep. For Lickety Split in Philadelphia, it was a very different story. Owned by former detective Tom Gaylord, the Bar Rescue Season 4 bar had once been a local staple. But years of personal struggles, particularly from Tom's reliance on alcohol, had seeped into every part of the business. The atmosphere had turned uncomfortable, the drinks were poorly made, and the food was barely edible. On top of that, the menu was full of drinks with vulgar names that made the whole place feel like a joke. The pizza was also a horrific mess. Operationally, things were just as bad. There was no real system in place, the kitchen was dirty, and the beer was all foam. All of that led to Tom being in a whopping $110,000 debt. But Jon's rescue gave the bar a lifeline. He confronted Tom directly about the drinking and forced him to commit to running the bar sober, and gave the bar a new dual concept. Downstairs became alleged bar and pizza, leading into a casual food-driven experience, while upstairs transformed into the Second State Lounge, a more traditional bar setting. For a moment, it looked like it worked. The relaunch was strong, the bar was busy, and Tom, at least temporarily, appeared more focused and in control.
Welcome everybody to Alleged Bar and Pizza and Second State Lounge.
But almost immediately after Jon left, cracks started to form again. Tom abandoned the alleged bar and pizza concept, sticking to a single identity under the Second State Lounge. On its own, that might not have been fatal, but what followed was a steady drift back to the wretched, dirty environment that Jon met before the rescue. And despite staff training, the bar's pizza slipped back into its terrible state. Complaints about cleanliness also resurfaced, suggesting that the standards Jon emphasized weren't being maintained. And in the fall of 2015, within less than a year of the episode airing, the bar shut down. If you think Tom and the Second State Lounge were terrible at managing the reform Jon put in place, wait till you learn about Weber's Place. Weber's Place in Reseda was a bar running on the life savings of its owner, Kervin Sinton. Weber's Place had run for 5 years before appearing on Bar Rescue Season 2, but by the time Jon was visiting, the bar's records showed that it had lost as much as $1,150 in just 2 nights.
This was what happened on Thursday night of this week. Your staff gave away $435 worth of liquor.
Kervin felt his staff were stealing from him, and rightfully so. But beyond the theft problem, the bar was in an identity crisis, sitting uncomfortably between a live music venue and what still looked like a leftover strip club. Staff preferred to dance rather than serve customers. And after waiting nearly half an hour for their food, customers were served undercooked chicken. Jon stepped in, knowing this bar was suffering from one core issue: a lack of control. The bar was losing money because staff lacked basic bartending skills, and most critically, they were stealing from the bar by overpouring, giving away drinks, and in some cases, even taking money straight from the register. Although Kervin had an idea that his staff was stealing from him, he did nothing about it. But Jon helped him make the big decision.
You're gonna let all your employees think that you're the softest one in the room?
I'm not soft. Mario's done. Immediately, right now.
The rescue itself focused on restoring structure. Jon cleaned up the kitchen, addressed the health violations, and brought in systems to control inventory. Then he retrained the entire team from the ground up. Jon also rebranded the bar into Weber's Rum Bar and Grill, a Caribbean-inspired concept that gave it a clearer identity while still allowing for entertainment. But almost immediately after the rescue, that structure began to crack, and it started with a decision that perfectly summed up the bar's deeper problem. Kervin rehired the very bartender who had been caught stealing. While Kervin did keep the new name and some elements of the concept, the discipline behind it didn't hold. Reviews from the months after the rescue painted a familiar picture. Customers complained about slow service, inattentive staff, and long wait times. With reviews like that and an overall 2-star rating on Yelp, the ending was obvious. Within less than a year of the episode airing, Weber's Rum Bar and Grill closed its doors in July 2013. Another bar called the Canby took over the location for some time, but they too ended up closing. While Kervin had only run Weber for 5 years before needing Jon's help, Lonnie Walker had been running the Underground Wonder Bar since 1989 before featuring in Season 4 of Bar Rescue. The bar did close in 2011, but she was able to raise money to move it to a new location. But the new location came with higher rent, different clientele, and problems Lonnie refused to adapt to. Within months, the bar was losing $2,000 every month. When Jon Taffer walked into the bar to save it, he realized that he wasn't just dealing with a struggling business. He was stepping into someone's personal world.
So you're going to attack me personally because I'm attacking your business? Is that where you're at?
You're attacking me.
On the surface, the problems were obvious. The bar had no clear identity, trying to be a live music venue, an art space, and a neighborhood bar all at once, and failing at all three. Taking a close look, things were even worse. The staff were unmotivated, service was painfully slow, and the entire operation revolved around Lonnie herself. She wasn't running the business, she was performing in it. Night after night, she took the stage, forcing customers into an experience they didn't ask for, while the actual bar, the part that made money, fell apart around her.
This is my showtime walk. Wonder Bar! And I'm here!
With the major problems being obvious, turning the business around would have been an easy-peasy task for Jon, if only Lonnie had not been so resistant to change.
Art or money? Art or money? Do you trust that he's gonna keep the music?
That turned into a sports bar?
But eventually, thanks to Lonnie's son, Jordan, who was a bartender at the bar, Jon was able to get Lonnie to agree to some changes, at least for some time.
I respect my son enough to say, okay, we're ready.
Jon's rescue aimed at shifting the bar's focus away from the music performances into what the market actually wanted.
Now, this is a white-collar, young professional neighborhood. A business must target its market.
Yes.
None of those 31-year-old people want to come here and hear her.
And to do that, he first of all had to push for a leadership change, placing Lonnie's son in charge of day-to-day management. Then came the full transformation. The Underground Wonder Bar was rebranded as Clear Bar, with a cleaner, more modern look designed to fit the neighborhood. The menu was reworked, the drinks were standardized, and for the first time, the bar was an actual bar. Everyone seemed happy, but then there was Lonnie.
I thought it would signify music. Clear does not signify music to me.
From that moment, it was clear that many of Jon's changes wouldn't last. In the first 6 weeks after the rescue, though, sales jumped by 30%. But Lonnie had started undoing everything Jon had done one by one, and the bar reverted to its original identity, Underground Wonder Bar. And while the bar did manage to survive for a couple more years, the same patterns remained. Reviews told a familiar story. The music was often praised, which was never the real issue, but customers complained that it was too loud. What was served in the bar was also questionable, as one customer called their drinks the worst ever. Jon had tried to make the focus less about the music and more about the actual service, food, drinks, and things most customers were interested in. But Lonnie's stubbornness caused the bar to slip back into its initial problems, and by September 2017, the Underground Wonder Bar closed its doors for good. If you enjoyed this video, you'll probably like these ones as well. And don't forget to subscribe.